Hello and welcome back to another video. We have the November ScrawlrBox straight through the letterbox, and it is super early. We are on the 15th, I believe, and this is probably the earliest box we've had in a long time. I'm excited to get into it, so let's not natter on and let's get straight into this box. Take all of this out, lay this out here. Okay, so the featured artwork, let's have a look. Wow, I love this. This seems to be like a hybrid between a whale and a bird. I love the colours, the texture on that. Very, very nice. So the featured artist is Carolina. They have been drawing for as long as they can remember. A lot of people still ask me if I've gone to any art schools, and the answer is yes. I've been to multiple, each had their quirks, but at some point I felt a bit too restricted. It goes on, I'll let you continue reading that. There are some socials in the bottom here. Very nice. No inkling as to what this is. I can't see what this is. It could be oil pastels or something similar to that. Let's pop this artwork in the middle there. Okay. All right, and then let's see what we have in this little parcel. We already have a paint that's popped out. Oh, okay. Okay. So not oils at all, not oil pastels or anything. So let's have a look at this. So we have a lovely sticker, which is a part of the artwork. Very nice colours. And then we have a Chupa Chups cherry stick. So I think it's those like fake licorice sticks with the foamy bit inside. They're always very nice. I will put a rating up on the screen now for that. Right, and then straight into the supplies. So we've got not loads of supplies, but they are good supplies. So we have 3 tubes of Winsor & Newton's designer gouache. Now I use designer gouache all the time. This Winsor & Newton is my favourite gouache to use at the moment. I have a little palette with these 3 colours in actually, and they're very, very nice. So I think I am happy with these. I think that's a nice little set. And we also have the ScrawlrBox size 8. Is this a round? Is this class? It's not classed as a round. I don't actually know what this paintbrush type is called, but that's the supplies. So just these very simple supplies, but I can imagine if you hear squeaking, Mabel's chewing on a toy that squeaks. I can imagine you can get quite a lot of things from just these very minimal supplies, so I'm quite happy with that. Let's we also have some cold press watercolor paper. ScrawlrBox, one second, let me just get Mabel out of here. Yeah, so we have some cold press watercolor paper, 10 sheets, 200 GSM. So you've got that nice dimpling with cold press, because that's how you remember what cold and hot press is like. Cold press is like being cold and having goosebumps. So that's nice, a bit of texture on there. So that'll be nice to use. And then to flick through the Scrawlr Zine, we have a little bit about the supplies there. Some more stuff about the Scrawlr artist. Very nice style. I like this style. We have some Scrawlr tips and some more Scrawlr tips and things to try. So as usual, I will read those as we swatch the supplies out. We have a little bit about the behind the artwork, which is quite nice. You can see the process on how it's been done, the layers, etc. Then we have the Scrawlr gallery from 2 months prior, which was the Amoeba challenge, which I think they were acrylic markers, the Copic new acrylic markers, which were very nice. So some lovely takes on this. We've got a lot of different types. Someone's done plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants. Very nice colours. And someone's done a mandala. Very nice, very nice. And then top 3 for the 2 months prior are these 3. I love this jellyfish. Very nice. And this kind of almost abstract face look here. They're lovely. Very, very nice. So remember to hashtag Scrawlr challenge when you post anything to social media if you try these boxes out, because you have a chance to be featured, which is nice. And then that's quite nice, the Scrawlr Extra is a history of Winsor & Newton, which is very, very nice. I love Winsor & Newton. They're probably some of my favourite more standard kind of manufacturers of artist quality stuff, so that's really nice. Very, very nice. Oh, and then they've got a bit about different mediums, which is really nice. That's a nice little addition, because I think it can sometimes be unclear, especially with the gouache, what it is and how to use it. And then our ScrawlrBox challenge is Mythical Monsters. Very nice. I think that's a great little Scrawlr challenge. I love the simplicity of these supplies. I know some people might find it a bit lackluster not having too many supplies, but I think the simplicity of just supplies that you know are going to work together because it's only one type of supply, I think that sometimes is much better than having tons of different supplies and they don't all work together. So I'm excited to test this. Let's do some swatches, let's read through those Scrawlr tips and things to try, and then let's create some artwork on mythical creatures. That was the thing, wasn't it? Mythical monsters. That should be good. So for the Scrawlr tips, they have a basic section where it tells you about consistency. So it says the beauty of gouache is its lovely thickness. You are aiming for a consistency similar to double cream, thick enough to layer smoothly and evenly without seeing the white of the paper. Then it moves on to glazing. Once you have the hang of the thickness, a fun layering technique is trying to glaze. Keep deep moody shadows by layering a sheer colour over your work. Mix water into your paint to thin it out, then layer across areas that have already been painted and fully dry to enrich colours or even create new ones. They also mention layering. Gouache reactivates with water, however there are a few ways to avoid unwanted reactivation. 1. Use diluted layers first and gradually build over. The less paint in your layer, the harder it is for it to reactivate. 2. Wait for each layer to completely dry before working on top of it to avoid the paint bleeding into each other. 3. When building your layers, use as little water on your brush as possible. The more water in your brush, the more likely you later reactivate and smudge. And 4. Use precise and decisive strokes so you are not rubbing the paint around over the page, causing the layers underneath to smudge. It also goes into planning. Break down your drawing into shapes, making it easy to add details afterwards. Study your reference, lightly sketch, and shade in areas of shadow you know where dark values will be. Then it kind of goes on to granulation, things like that, which are all very much watercolour techniques. So in terms of gouache, in my opinion, I kind of think of them as a really cool little hybrid between an acrylic and a watercolour. So it has the use of a watercolour where you can layer very thin layers and then get gradually thicker, you can mix in water, etc, etc, but it has the amazing quality of opacity like an acrylic. So I kind of think of them as an acrylic, but I definitely use them more as a watercolour, that in my opinion. They do have a lovely creamy consistency, and if your art style is very much pop art or using block colours and cell shading, then you are definitely going to enjoy the gouache in all its glory. But for me, as a bit more of a watercolour artist, I definitely utilise them more on the watercolour side, but kind of keeping that lovely opacity when I need to in my artwork. So that's kind of how I've used it. As you can see here, I did a quick colour chart, my usual, but as there's only 3 colours, it's not that of an impressive chart, but you definitely see the sheer number of colours you can definitely create, depending on what quantities of that colour you add. So in terms of purples, you can get a really lovely pink magenta colour, but you can also get this deep bluey purple, which is just beautiful. The greens, in my opinion, tended to be a little bit insipid, but I did notice, I got out of my Winsor & Newton professional gouache paint set that I already had, and I noticed that I only had one duplicating colour, which was the yellow, so that's really cool. I can add those to my selection, because I did find this blue and this yellow in this particular trio just became very insipid when made into a green. It just wasn't a green I was happy with for the artwork I wanted to produce. It would be great for doing landscapes, I think, but for the artwork I wanted to produce, it was a little bit insipid. So I'm glad that it's not a duplicate, the blue's not a duplicate to one I already have, which is very nice. So in terms of mythical monsters, I really loved that the featured artist basically combined two different animals that are in the real world to create quotation marks a monster. I love animals, so I find it very difficult to call anything a monster. I think it could be, anyway, it doesn't really matter. I think that the creature created by the featured artist is beautiful, and I think quite a lot of these little hybrid animals are very beautiful as well. But I did some googling on free reference image websites like Pixabay and Pexels.com, and I found a really beautiful hummingbird image, and I thought the colours would blend really well, except the green, unfortunately. So I kind of thought I'll go down that route, and then I searched for ages for an animal that had the same form, as in the same action, the same profile, shape, as the hummingbird, so I could morph them a little bit easier. And I found this beautiful Dalmatian image, and it was just the perfect base for the hummingbird head and wings to go on. And then I just added some antlers because I thought it would look good. So it's kind of a bit of a hummingbird stag Dalmatian hybrid, which I think is really cool and very interesting and a little bit different. And as you can see, I initially went in with the green thinking it would look really good, and it ended up creating this very insipid, I know I keep saying that word, but it is an insipid base layer that I wish I'd not put down, because as I read in the Scrawlr tips, they can muddy very easily, and although I did a very light wash of it, it obviously tinted my whole image to be that kind of grainy grey colour, which I was not happy with. So I would have changed that if I do it again. I would have made it probably a brighter green, or maybe even went into the blues a little bit, and that kind of had the colour profiles of pinks and blues and purples rather than adding any of the yellow at all to this. But I think I recovered it quite well, and as you can see, I am just working with it like watercolours, like I mentioned, building up layer after layer, which always really helps. And then finally I do add a couple of thicker layers just to accentuate some of the colours and the shapes in the end. But I really enjoyed doing this. It was definitely a quicker piece for me to complete, but I really like it. It's not got the most amount of detail, it's definitely not got the amount of detail I would usually put into a piece, but it is very nice. I do like it. I love these paints. I've mentioned this before, I have a set of them and I've painted quite a lot of things in them. A lot of my greetings cards I sell have gouache paintings, in particular my dove, my love doves, the giraffe painting I did, that's all done with these professional gouache, so if you want to check those out, they're over on my website, and I really like them. So I hope you've enjoyed these paints as well if you received this box. I have seen quite a lot of people saying they're struggling with the muddiness, and this example of this painting probably doesn't show off how you can use them to the best of their ability, but I just urge you to practice. I will definitely be using these a bit more. And do your swatching. I know Scrawlr tips always say swatch, but I swatch every single supply I ever receive and test them in different ways. So as you saw in that swatch, I swatched them and I got some really nice greens. But if you don't keep swatching and keep trying these colours, you won't know that you can create these really awful muddy colours very easily by just mixing two colours. So you do have to keep swatching and making sure that you are testing out all the supplies and making sure you know the colour mixes that work and the colour mixes that do not work. But that's it. I enjoyed this, and I think Mythical Monsters was a really fun challenge. I could definitely lean into it with my love of animals, and I hope you've enjoyed this little hummingbird dog stag hybrid I've created here. And if you're new here and you enjoyed this video, we do a ScrawlrBox once a month. We do weekly vlogs as well, and also try out other supplies and hauls and things like that. So if that's your bag, please consider subscribing, and if you've enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you would have done as your mythical monster hybrid, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.